Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Tulley, President and Executive Writing Coach at Defend, Publish, and Lead, and welcome to episode 121. Sometimes you have to stop and clean up. I'm doing this episode, it's kind of a last minute idea, but something that many clients come to us to ask about. And here's what they ask. They are stuck writing because their workspace is a mess. Their house is a mess. All their children just got out for the end of the school year, and there's backpacks and old lunches and extra school supplies all over the floor. Or their toddler is outgrowing clothes and there's clothes all over the house that are all different sizes and they have to figure out what to do with it. Other clients, I just had one of our male clients had parents that passed away within a couple months of each other, and they had all kinds of furniture and things like that that needed to come back into his house while I figured out what to do with it. So he had to figure out how to clean up. Some of us still from COVID lockdowns haven't really used our offices all that much. I know that a long time ago, I had an optimistic episode about cleaning my office at the university. I will link to that one because it's now funny and laughable because it actually looks worse than when I recorded that episode. Because what I was doing during the pandemic was when I needed to go in the office, I got what I needed, threw the other stuff in there that I didn't, and I really did not make any kind of attempt to organize it or do anything. So that space actually looks worse. But I wanted to just do a short episode today just on doing some things about what to do about the issue of cleaning up when you're worrying about writing, you're worrying about looking for a job, you're doing your grant writing or your summer writing projects and those sorts of things. Because one of the things that sometimes happens as we move into the summer, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, is that people are home a little bit more. You might not be teaching as much, or you might be teaching remotely, and you just notice the mess a lot more because you're there. And so I want to throw out a couple things that clients have suggested to me, and then also some things that I'm kind of working through to figure out some of these pieces for myself. Certainly, if you're looking for more of a writing tip episode today, this episode is probably not that. But I want to acknowledge that sometimes you really do need to take a minute to just get your space cleaned up, or at least cleaned up to a spot where you can move forward. So here's a couple things that clients have mentioned to me that they're thinking about. So, clients will sometimes ask a question, for example, is it okay to not write one day and just spend the day getting the laundry finished, cleaning up my kitchen, like doing those sorts of things, because nobody's done it in a while and everything's starting to build up and it's just a point of stress. We always hear about people can't start writing until they have a clean desk or they've got to clean their areas. Yes, this could be a procrastination strategy for sure. Many people, use this as a way to procrastinate. But there certainly have been studies that show that sometimes this is a way for your brain to just kind of reset into a new activity. That could be the case too. But what I would argue in this episode is sometimes, yes, you really do need to clean up. You've got a sink full of dishes and there's no dishes ready for you to have your next meal. Well, yeah, writing maybe is not the most important thing that you need to be doing at that moment. So, it is something that I think we need to just acknowledge that some of these other systems, we can build all the wonderful systems we want for writing and the best schedules and all that kind of thing. But if we are not doing just basic like maintenance to kind of, keep ourselves alive, keep our, houses at least reasonably functional, those sorts of things, it does stall your writing in a way that even if you can write around all that stuff and write in a really messy area, it's still in the back of your brain eventually. It's visual clutter, it's a distraction, and so on. So I just want to throw out a couple of other things that clients have suggested that have helped. I did have one client who basically said that the way that she will stand up after sitting at her desk for writing is she writes for a half hour, cleans for 10 minutes, writes for a half hour, cleans for 10 minutes. And I know that that's really working for her. She really likes it because she's seeing some visible kind of, that visual clutter is getting cleaned up. So all those papers that were on the counter, those are all filed, thrown out, recycled. Maybe in another 10-minute spot, she cleaned off the top of her refrigerator. We kind of talked through of a couple of the things that she did. I know, and she had really funny things for the different 10-minute segments. So another one was looking in the refrigerator for anything that was expired and tossing it, those kinds of things. So, I think that the 30 minutes writing and then the 10-minute break actually works for her in particular, because she's somebody that doesn't like to sit in the chair and write a lot. That's just not one of her favorite things to do. And she also mentioned how productive she felt, that even though she was writing, she didn't feel guilty that she was writing and not taking care of these home spaces. So I know that that was one that certainly worked for her. I know another client that I had a while back chose in the summer, and this was only in the summer since they had to be at home, chose to write in different rooms of the house. And then when they kind of looked up around writing, they could see these different things that needed to be tackled. So, for example, they noticed that one of the cabinets was spilling over with video games or something like that. So they just kind of made, as they were writing, as they'd look up and see things, they'd just add them on a list of things to do. And then they saved the last half hour of the day to kind of tackle different things in that room. So I thought that was kind of a novel approach. I know one strategy slash technique that I've found really works is that I do listen to a couple of organizing podcasts, mainly because I try to think about moving physical objects in the way that we think about our writing projects and how they fit in our schedules. And that's just one way that my brain has worked to kind of think through these different things. But I know a book that I like, I think it's called Organizing for the Rest of Us. The person that writes that, and I think her name is Dana. So I'll put a link to it in the show notes. I just really like it because she has, I would argue, some really, really low standards to what's considered organizing. And she basically has just some real straightforward basic rules like, hey, anything that you're doing is making it better. And I think one of the rules that I really like in there, she's got some other ones, and I'll put a link to the book in the show notes, but I liked one that she had something that said something like, take it there right now. So if you see somebody, has a stray snow boot that's laying in the middle of the living room, or there's scissors that are laying out, or, a piece of garbage or whatever, you put it where it needs to go and basically take it there right now. I liked that one a lot for a strategy just in general. So not during writing per se, but just for managing things. So as I'm walking around the house, if I see something, if I can take it there right now in like the next 30 seconds, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I know that's made a big difference in the way that I kind of think about cleaning and organizing. So that might be something that would be useful for you. There's lots of other ones. We have several clients that listen to Organize 365. It's a podcast. It tackles like all the rooms and all the different things. So I know that that's one that has been recommended multiple times. Other things that people think about too when they're thinking about cleaning up, certainly a workspace includes things like your laptop. I know we have a couple of clients that basically have said that they've written on their laptops so much they're so grimy and gross because we use our laptops all the time that once a year they kind of detail their laptops and get all those crumbs out of the keyboards and wipe off the screens. So that could be something that could be, if we think about it would be, now we're kind of heading into the summer in the northern hemisphere here. So sometimes you'll hear like phrases about spring cleaning. Maybe that's something that you just do at the end of every academic year. You clean up your laptop. Maybe that's it. That's all you're doing for cleaning and organizing, but you're taking the time to do that. You could also think about desktop cleaning. This is something I'm trying to be much better at because I have the worst habit of saving any old random document to my desktop, and then I have hundreds of these random things I don't remember what they are, like a form for my kids' school or a random screen capture. So I have an episode on fences. I will put that in there as well as in our show notes, as well as any of our other organizing or cleaning episodes that are more about that kind of work. So you can take advantage of the particular kind of energy at this time of year. But I just wanted to put it out there that sometimes we kind of think of as our mind and body separate. We think of our mind and our home separate. That's home life. That's not work life, or that's not scholarly life. But sometimes it really does bring a new energy to just spend the time doing a little bit. You don't have to be a neatnik, you don't have to be a minimalist, but just some like bare bones, basic organizing and decluttering. That might be something that could be helpful at this time of year just to give you a new energy. So I'll put all those resources in the show notes, and I hope they help. Happy writing.